Hi, thanks for tuning in today to Front Porch Conversations. We're here at the Harmony Center today, and we have as our guest pastors Sam Worley and Leigh Worley. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad you're actually here at the Village as well.
Thank you.
We are also. Yeah.
Well, would you tell our audience a little bit about where you grew up, where you were born, where you grew up, and ladies first?
Yeah.
Okay. I was born in northern Maine, lived in Ashland, born in Presque Isle. Grew up in Crossville, however. Not quite 2 years old, our family moved there. And my dad still lives there to this day. And had a great childhood, one of 7 children.
Oh my goodness, where are you in the
I was the third one. Yep.
And he still lives there year round?
He does, yes.
I understand it gets really cold there.
Very cold.
I guess if you're accustomed to it.
Right. And some years lots of snow. Yeah. And we had great fun playing in the snow growing up.
How about you, Sam?
I grew up in the little town of Iron Gate, Virginia, over in the western part of the state, in the mountains of Virginia. Small town, still to this day doesn't have a traffic light, does have a post office. I'm one of 6 kids, and I was the 4th in line. Leigh and I share in common that our oldest siblings are twins.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So 2 of my sisters still live in that area. I have a brother that lives a little further south in Virginia, but still in the mountains. Don't get up there much, but it's a pretty place. A place I didn't appreciate until I had left, and now when I'm there, I love it. Love the beauty of the mountains up there.
Yeah. Are there any other twins now in your family?
Yes. One of my sisters had twins, and then one of my nieces, 2 of my nieces had twins. Yeah. And
the Lord was gracious. We didn't have twins.
we're afraid we'd have triplets.
Or quads.
Yeah.
But he has a niece who had twins also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned a fun childhood growing up in the snow. What are some of your other favorite childhood memories?
We used to get together in the neighborhood and we would play Tin Can Alley and hide and go seek. Even on our bicycles, we'd ride all around town. We would play on the playground down at the schoolyard, played baseball and all kinds of games, and it was just a really great place to grow up. And I picked potatoes too, growing up. That was one of the things in northern Maine. It was potato country, and every fall the schools would close, so all of the kids could go out and work the fields. And I did that starting in 1st grade.
And in our course of Front Porch Conversations, we've talked to a number of people from Maine, northern Maine, and they always talk about picking potatoes as children.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there were a lot of days we didn't want to get out of bed that early and have to go do it, but I look back on it as a great time, great memories. Yeah.
What about you, Pastor Sam?
Iron Gate was, again, a small community. It was a safe environment. And so the neighborhood kids got together. We played ball together. We played other games such as tag and Tin Can Alley. And we did those things whether it was daylight or night. And most of the time our parents said, when the street lights come on, you come home, you know. But there were occasions when we'd be out running all around town and nobody seemed to care. You know, it was, again, a nice situation. Played a lot of ball. in the process of growing up, whether it was there in the neighborhood or at school, and a lot of memories from relationships built during that time.
What was your sport you participated in high school?
Well, a number of them, track, baseball, basketball, football. Then in college I played soccer, but pretty average athlete. I was no superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, to this day, I enjoy sports, and our daughters enjoy watching sports. One of them was an athlete, but when college basketball season comes around, we're all interacting in one way or another about our favorite teams, and just enjoying the experience.
And after growing up, you left those two hometowns, did you? Or
Went to college. That's where we got to know each other. Officially met just before I went to the school where he was at Berkshire Christian College in Lenox, Mass. But yeah, we went to school together, and then after I graduated, we were married, and so pretty much left home at 18. And that was it.
Same with me. Had no clue that when I went away to school that first time that for the most part that was for good. I did go back for several months after I graduated from college. My dad had died while I was in college, and so Mom was widowed at age 48. She still had 2 kids at home, and so after I finished at Berkshire, nothing had really opened up by way of a pastorate, so I thought it was a good opportunity to go and spend time with Mom. So I went back and I worked construction until into the next fall, and enjoyed that time, and that was the most time that I would have with my mom at any given time until after her passing. Yeah, so I'm grateful for having had that experience. Yeah.
in choosing to go to Berkshire, did you each think you had a Christian vocation you were being called to?
I did.
Yeah, he did.
I had come to faith when I was 11 or 12 years old in a Christian camp, and Christian camping was a big part of my growing up, and certainly a big part of my Christian experience in introducing me to Christ and nurturing that faith. When I was 16 years old, I was at a Christian camp in Virginia, and felt like God was speaking to me. I couldn't tell you who was the speaker at the camp that year, but something about the message that night and the previous nights had moved my heart. And so after the service, we all had headed down to have some soda and candy and unwind. And while all that was going on, I went back to where we had a campfire site, and I guess had a campfire service earlier. But anyway, I went back by myself, and it was there that I felt the need to express to the Lord that my life was surrendered to Him, and that if He wanted me in ministry, then that's what I wanted to do. I had a huge burden for a lot of my peers, guys I played ball with, guys I went to school with, whose lifestyle didn't indicate that there was any relationship with the Lord there. And I, at that time, envisioned that I might end up in youth ministry of some sort, and I have had some involvement in that, and was on staff with my primary ministry focused on youth for a period of time. But anyway, I essentially wrote a blank check to the Lord that night and said, you know, I want to serve you in this way. And so a few years later, I ended up going off to Berkshire to prepare for ministry. And that was a long time ago. Yeah.
What about you, Leigh?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I went to Berkshire, but I knew that's where I was supposed to be. I think part of it was the influence of visiting there several times with youth conference events. That really impacted me. And when I was there, I just felt like this should be for me. This is what I think God's calling me to do for school. And beyond that, it took me a year or so to decide. I majored in Christian education, and used that quite a bit over the years in working in our churches and all. So, yeah, just feeling led to be there. And I had asked God to guide my life and lead me in the way He wanted me to go. So that's where He took me.
You said that was quite a few years ago. I'm not going to ask you that, but I'm going to ask you, how many years have you been married now?
It will be 44 years next month that we've been married.
Congratulations.
I can't.
We have asked, I've asked a few people over time, and we had to cut while they decided amongst themselves how long they've been married.
Well, there's always that possibility with me.
He's always kept track of that pretty well.
And where was your first assignment at a church?
In the state of Rhode Island, in West Warwick, Rhode Island, the River Point Advent Christian Church. I graduated a year before Leigh did, and we had gotten engaged at the end, right near the end of the school year. And so my first pastorate, to begin with, I was single, and so I got the privilege of cooking for myself and doing all those things that I grew up in a family with 4 sisters and a mom, and so I wasn't probably the most domestic individual you've ever met, but yeah.
He is now, though.
He's been domesticated.
Yes.
I've been well trained. I've teased her that the reason she married me because I was a professional dishwasher. That's how I got through school, was working either in restaurants or in the school food services. So I know my way around the kitchen. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And then how long were you at that church?
Good question. 3.5 years or so, 3.5 to 4 years, something like that. They were good people, patient people. I mean, obviously they knew I was right out of school, so they were patient people, gracious and encouraging. I have, for the most part, just fond memories of that congregation. It's interesting, our oldest daughter, and we have 2 daughters, but our oldest daughter is married to a Marine officer, and they last May were assigned to the state of Rhode Island. So I guess the end of the summer, anyway, we traveled up and got to ride over and see the church building where that sanctuary worshiped, and see the community that has meant a lot to me. So that was a neat experience. Yeah. And that was my only pastorate in New England, and we've been in the either Mid-Atlantic or Southeast ever since. Most of our ministry has taken place in the Carolinas. We were several years in South Carolina, then a total of about 28 years in the state of North Carolina, and then the Richmond area of Virginia. As
Do I
well.
remember correctly, you were in Wilmington when you came here? Is
Yes,
that Wilmington,
we
North
were there
Carolina?
for 14 and a half years, and just loved the folk there. It was nice living in a beach community. I don't miss the traffic of Wilmington, but the people.
We do miss the people.
We were loved by them, loved them. It was a privilege to serve them, and it was just a real good experience. So we're thankful for that. Yeah.
And where were you living as your daughters came to join the family?
We were living in Mechanicsville, Virginia, just north of Richmond. The first time that we lived there, when our oldest was born, and then we were living in Benson, North Carolina, when our youngest was born. And she was about 11 when we left there, so she pretty much grew up there. And our older one too. She was 3.5 when we went there, up to her junior year. So.
We served.
That was home for them.
Yeah, we served that congregation for 13 years. So developed some roots and relationships. Again, many fond memories for having been able to live there and be part of the community and part of the lives of people, not only in the church that we pastored, but there are a lot of Advent Christian churches in that greater community, that the county of Johnston County, and I had the opportunity to speak at revival services and other events in the other congregations. So we built relationships there. So,
Well, being a pastor here, are there people who you've pastored in other churches through your ministry?
yes. The Wrigleys, Donald and Penny Wrigley were part of our congregation for a while in there in Benson at Banner Chapel. Is there anyone else, Leigh, that you can?
Well, Mark Edquid
Yes.
Oh, that's
was in our
That's right. Mark.
United Church at Wilmington.
Mark served as our accompanist, and of course, far more than that. But for about 10 years, we served that congregation together, and Mark shares our love of music and my love of football, and so there were many weekend afternoon or Sunday evening when we ate pizza or whatever it was and watched ball together. So
So are you going to tell us your team allegiances?
well, for college basketball, the University of North Carolina, and I've been a fan of theirs since I was a boy. My dad followed them back before college sports was on television a lot. They're in that little town at that time. We got 2 channels on the television by way of an antenna, and this is probably more information than you need to know, but there was an antenna wire that ran from our house way up on Iron Gate Hill. But anyway, we only got 2 channels, so most of the time we followed sports by radio. So again, I have fond memories of sitting around with my dad listening to ball games on the radio. And that's a whole different dynamic than sitting in front of a television. Living in Carolina, as far as professional football, became a fan of the Carolina Panthers. I enjoy Jacksonville Jaguars now. You know, they're the closest to us, I guess. Back when I used to watch professional basketball, I was a Celtics fan, and back through their heyday, enjoyed following them. Followed the Braves baseball teams for years. Back when Turner Broadcasting had the Braves games on every night, we enjoyed those.
Yeah.
So you really don't have a lot of allegiances that would get you in trouble with other church members here, like Gators and Seminoles and.
No, I haven't dug that hole. I probably dug others, but
We had to deal with it in North Carolina
I'm
too.
sure.
With Duke and Carolina and State and all those preferences. Yeah,
Leigh, do you share the interest in sports?
I do. I do. To a fair degree, I think. I don't follow or watch as much as he does, but yeah, even golf. We love to watch golf together on TV. So, yeah, my family was always very sports-minded. My dad was a great athlete, and a lot of my siblings did very well. We all played ball of some kind or some sort, and we're involved in different athletic events and so forth. So, yeah, it's always been a part of my life.
Good.
Yeah.
at least a couple of your siblings have been coaches and won state championships.
Yes.
They're in the state of Maine.
Maine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
do I remember this correctly? Is your dad a pastor?
No.
Okay.
He did lay speaking. He did quite a bit of that at times.
Worship leader.
Worship leader. He would lead singing at camp meetings and things like that.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
but-
somebody had mentioned that to me, but maybe it was their just his total involvement in things.
He was involved in camping ministries as well, and worship leading, and
Yes.
probably, I assume, did some speaking as well. in that.
I think so.
So would you share a little bit with us about your daughters, and are you grandparents?
We are grandparents. We have two beautiful grandchildren, a little girl, Evie, who is 2.5, and then our grandson, Wesley, is 9 months right now. And they just light up our lives, I'll tell you. We enjoy every moment we get to spend with them or FaceTime with them, whatever it is, and interact. And they're...
And you spoke of your
So-
daughter who lives in Rhode Island.
Yes, their mom lives in Rhode Island. Her name is Erin. She's married to Wes. He's a major in the Marine Corps. Our youngest daughter, Alyssa, lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She works with occupational therapy as an assistant, and initially worked in a rehab facility for brain injuries, brain trauma, and just has a knack with people. She's good with that. Our oldest daughter, Erin, prior to having our children, was a teacher for speakers of other languages. She helped work with them in the schools and seemed to be very well loved and very well received. Had a great rapport with her students and enjoyed that very much.
Right now, her focus is raising 2 little ones, and fortunately, they're in a situation where she can economically be able to do that. But she was involved in working with kids certainly from the time she was a young teenager, in one way or another, but taught in public schools and worked in after-school programs prior to that.
Right.
And,
And then Leigh, you also work here at the village.
I do, yes.
What do you do?
I work as data entry in resource development at Carter Village Hall. Started doing that basically in January of 22. So it's been going on a year and a half now. I think I'm finally learning it.
I'm sure.
It's a big job, but wonderful people to work with. And I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed. God opened that door.
Good.
Yeah.
And you, while you're both here working during the day, you live off campus. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
About 1.5 miles off campus. It takes about 5 minutes
I
to
bet
get here.
the commute is rough.
It is. When the gas prices went up, I told him we were going to have to start carpooling.
Our schedules are different from one
That's the
another.
problem.
Yeah. But
Well, after being here a while, what surprises you most about living at the village?
you know, in the questions that you provided us, this was the one that I really haven't felt that I was surprised about the village. Maybe it was because of a background as an avid Christian pastor and having been here for some conferences. I think that the thing that surprises me most is that we're here.
Yes, God's calling us here. That was
Yeah,
unexpected surprise.
I had foolishly made the statement only a few years prior to coming here. I don't ever see myself being in Florida. It's
hot.
It's hot in Florida. Yeah.
But here
Welcome
we
to
are.
Maine. I want to thank you both so much for sitting down and talking with me today, and I know our viewers will enjoy getting to know you more. And
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
Anna.
so much.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed it. Thank you.
well, thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll come and watch another Front Porch Conversation with us.